Good afternoon, readers. So here I am, another newbie booktuber. My name is Tilly and I'm calling this channel Tilly's Shelf because I'd like it in the end to be like a shelf of all different reviews of different books. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Yorkshire, but I'm staying in because I'm on the night shift tonight, so I decided to just relax and do the Booktube Newbie Tag. I've actually already recorded a couple of Booktube videos, but I haven't posted any yet because I wasn't really sure where to start and how to what do you do for your first video. And then the other day I saw Jennifer at insert literary pun here did the middling booktuber tag, and she or somebody on the comments mentioned the newbie tag, so I thought I would have a look. I've watched a few new people who look like they're going to be really great. My favourite so far I think is Books with Kaye, so I enjoyed seeing those and I thought, why not? Let's give it a go. So here you are. So I've got the questions in my little notebook here. Question number 1 is, why did you start this channel? I'm not entirely sure how I even stumbled onto Booktube in the first place. I think it's just those systems that Google and things like that have that just started throwing up book reviews for me. I've participated in a few online literature courses via things like FutureLearn and Coursera, which I really recommend if you like Booktube, and through those I got into discussing books in depth online, but there's only so much you can say in a comment sometimes and you end up losing those discussions when the course closes. So I began to think that it would be really fun to have my own channel and be able to talk about books in depth in a way that I haven't done since I stopped studying literature when I was about 18. Watching Booktube is one thing, but sometimes you have a book that you've not really seen anyone review yet, or you have a book that you want to go on a completely different angle with, so I thought it would be good to just do it myself. And also, booktubers seem really welcoming and really friendly and really like, yeah, come join our community. So I feel like that's really helped in making the decision to go for it. Question number 2 is, what are some fun and unique things that you can bring to Booktube? That's a good question, and I think I'm not the only person who has hesitated over what to say about this question. I feel like Booktube is a very well-established community, and whatever angle you want to take on a channel and whatever route you want to go down and whatever book you want to review, there's probably at least one person out there who has done that already. And that is of course a good thing, because if there is a group of people doing the same thing, you can build off each other and influence each other and share opinions, and that's great. In the same way that everything has been done before, everyone goes about doing it in their own individual way, so what I will bring is my way and my selection of books and my approach to those books. I'm not going to go too much into the TBR list wrap-up style of video. I am going to focus on in-depth reviews and trying to unpick books and see how they work. I might do some tags just for fun as well. So that's my current plan. Question 3 is, what are you most excited about? Well, what I've mentioned really about getting back into close reading books and analysing them a bit, picking them apart, not in a negative way, but as in figuring out how they work, what's good about them. I'm excited to be actively talking to people about books. That's not to say that I don't at the moment. The thing is that in the staff room, when you've got 20 minutes on your break, it's kind of hard to properly start a conversation. Although I do have friends who I can talk to about books and who we can get into quite a lot of depth if we've both read the same book recently. Those conversations can be few and far between, but sometimes you're just not in the same book state. So I know that there are other people out there who will be in the same book state about a book as me. I miss the fun that I used to have in English classes and the excitement and the sense of realisation you get when you develop a theory about a book and it's coherent and you get to share it with those around you, or you hear someone else's theory and it just fits so well and it's this light bulb moment. So that's exciting for me. Question number 4 is a good one. Why do you love reading? There are so many answers to this question because it depends on the book, doesn't it? I think overall I love the new ideas you get from reading, whether it's learning something concrete from a non-fiction book, or a new use of a symbol, or a new incredible idea for a fantasy world, or just new ways of stringing plot points and characters and words together. Reading is just mind-expanding and cathartic in so many ways, and life would be so much worse without books. Question 5. What book or series got you into reading? How am I supposed to remember this? A Very Hungry Caterpillar, Each Peach Pear Plum, I Wrote to the Zoo to Send Me a Pet, I think it was called. So many picture books, basically. I don't think there's ever been a point when I haven't loved reading, although there have definitely been times when I've read a lot less, when I've not had the, not exactly the time, but the inclination to read in large quantities. My parents are big readers, and always we had bedtime stories and so on. A little bit older there was, I've got it here, The Ordinary Princess by MMK. I cannot recommend this book enough if you've got a young daughter who likes fairy tale type books. And also A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett. But if I was going to pin it on one series that made me a big independent reader of what I thought of at the time as proper adult books, even though it's obviously still a children's book, it would be The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. I mean, this is one of those series that everyone knows and everybody really loves. I had a beautiful picture book of The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, which came with an audiobook, and I think I can remember every illustration, I can remember every intonation of the reading voice on the tape. I just went through it so many times, and eventually I got given the full-length book that was like a 3-book set, and I think it was the longest book that I'd ever owned at that point in my life. It was like a Christmas present or something, and I read it and reread it so many times to go through the wonderful, magical, incredible world that is Narnia. I've got a big edition. This one has all of them in it, and it has like illustrations as well. And I spent so long sitting in the wardrobe waiting for the time when the wardrobe would open up, so much so that eventually this was my parents' wardrobe and they gave it to me, and my cousin came round and she painted a unicorn on the front of it, which was kind of like a consolation prize. Like, Narnia's not in there, but here, have a painted unicorn. I actually reread the whole of the Chronicles of Narnia recently in this copy. It was a very interesting and very mixed experience. There were obviously nostalgic bits that I loved, but there were also things that I had different emotions about as an adult reading them. I was thinking about doing a video on that. I haven't yet made up my mind as to whether I will or not. This copy that I've read is actually my boyfriend's copy, which leads me on to a little side note. My boyfriend really encouraged me to go for making a booktube channel, and he's gonna come up in a lot of mentions because we have some similar reading tastes. But he would like to remain anonymous, so we have settled on calling him Beau, which comes from Sense and Sensibility and other such books where bows are mentioned as like a regency beau. So we both liked the idea of that little reference. Swallows and Amazons! I can't believe I nearly forgot about this series, which also has really nice little illustrations. 6. What questions would you ask your favourite booktuber? I don't think there would be general questions. I think I would have more specific questions on, like, oh, on that video you mentioned this idea but you didn't go into it, can you tell me more about that? Because a lot of the time I watch videos that are like a couple of years old, and I worry that if I put a comment on it, it's just not going to be relevant anymore. I watch certain people a fair bit and I feel like I get to know them quite a lot, so if I bumped into them it would be like, oh hey, how's that going, that thing that you mentioned, or have you finished that book yet? And they would be left like. Question 7. What challenges do you think will be the hardest to overcome? Oh, I can think of a lot of challenges. I say far too much, and I'm editing them all out because I hate hearing it back and hearing myself just saying So just to give you an idea of what I mean by too much, let's just take a little aside to see all of the ums that future me has already edited out of this video so far. Go. And there we have it. That's a lot of ums. So it makes the end video look jumpy. And I also have to work from notes because I'm not good at improvising, so a lot of the time I look like I'm kind of staring off camera because I'm staring at my notes. Challenge number 2 is that I can tend to be quite long-winded. I ramble, I need to be more succinct. But the challenge that is most likely to end this channel is procrastination. I have a long-standing and not very healthy tendency to procrastinate even things that I enjoy when there is no reason to do that. Unlike many people in the modern era, I do actually have a fair bit of time on my hands. I'm lucky enough to have a job which I really like, but which I can leave at work, and I do long shifts, so I get all of my hours out of the way in 3 to 4 days a week. I don't have children. I do have a cat, and she can be quite needy sometimes, but it's not the same as running after kids. So I often have days off when Beau is at work, when theoretically I could be working on videos, but more often I will be watching them instead. So pure laziness is a challenge for me. Question number 8, getting close to the end here. When did you start reading? Again, with the questions about early childhood, I can't remember a time when I couldn't read and didn't read for fun. And question 9 is, where do you read? And the answer to that one is everywhere. I keep books dotted around the house to pick up whenever I have a spare moment. If I can fit reading into a task, I will, especially if I'm engrossed in a particular book. I used to mainly read in the evenings before bed, but I do that less lately. Instead, I often read in transit. Something I cannot recommend for health and safety reasons, but I often read walking around like Belle from Beauty and the Beast, but with more swerving at the last minute to avoid lampposts and stuff like that. I also use an app called Serial Reader on my phone. In the summer I love reading outside, in the winter I love reading by a fire if there's one available, so I like cosy reading, fresh air reading, things like that. Question number 10 is, what kind of books do you like to read? And I've put together a little demonstration crate, which is by no means a thorough representation of what I like to read. So I go through phases. Lately I had a Myths and Legends phase, so I've got Beowulf and the Prose Edda. I had fantasy phases like Mistborn and Philip Pullman, murder mysteries. I've read a lot of Agatha Christie. Generally speaking, the majority of books I read are older. It's unusual that I read a book that has come out in the last couple of years. I tend towards fiction, not that I don't dabble in non-fiction as well. I steer away from long series and hefty tomes. I just struggle with commitment. I know that I don't want to read a 10-book series. I just don't want to. Most of the authors that I would tentatively put down as my favourite authors are 19th to 20th century women, so that's my base area, you could say. So the typical Austen, Brontes, then Woolf, Daphne du Maurier, Rosamund Lehmann. I'm also trying to read more books and stories from other cultures, so I'm working on the Rig Veda. I've also got Land of the Long White Cloud, which is a collection of Maori fairy tales, myths and legends for children, which is a really sweet book. I'm enjoying those. And I guess all I can say is that the books that I read and the books that I want to look into and review will become more clear as I gradually post more videos, is the whole idea. So that's all the questions. I did tag myself in this video because I think that was kind of the point. You can't really be tagged when you're a newbie. So passing the tag on, if you see this and you enjoyed it and you're also new to Booktube, let me know that you're going to do this tag because I think it's nice to know who is starting at the same time. In terms of the future, at the moment I'm working on doing reviews for A Note in Music by Rosamund Lehmann and A Pocketful of Rye by Agatha Christie. I also today just started reading the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin, which I have mixed feelings about, but my brother read it and he bought it as a Christmas present for Beau. The main reason I think that I'm reading it is because it says on the back that the world has this great red rift in it, and I once was trying to invent a concept for a fantasy world and the world was based around having a rift through the middle of it, so I want to see what an actual author has done with that idea. So that's why I'm diving into a book that wouldn't possibly otherwise entirely be my cup of tea. So I'll speak to you soon regarding these 3 books and potentially other books. That is the end. I can't think of how to sign off. It's just really awkward when you get to the end of the video and it's like, what do I say now? I want to say see you soon because that's what I normally say when I'm saying goodbye to people, but I can't see anyone. See what I mean about procrastinating? I'm procrastinating finishing filming this video, which I guess is a way of procrastinating starting to edit this video. So if you've read any of the books I've mentioned in this video, or if you've got any feedback for me in terms of video making, or if you just want to say hello, there is a comment section. You know how to use it. Go for it. Speak to you soon.